presenter is Jarell D. Neal. He's Vice President, Globalization and Information Design and Development. Welcome on stage.
Great, thank you. All right, perfect. All right, can everybody hear me okay? In the back, all right? Fantastic. I was going to say good morning, but it's good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks to Andrew and Ulrich and the whole Acrolinx team for inviting me to have a talk with you. I'm excited to be here in Berlin. It's been a number of years since I've been here in Berlin, and I find it a fantastic city. I live in Austin, Texas, where Dell is headquartered, and I've spent quite a bit of time traveling, so I've been in lots of different cities. Berlin is one of my favorite ones in the world. And it's been 3 years. I was at the original Content Connections, I think, in the US anyway, or original to me in 2016. So it's been a while since I've been back to the conference. And just in the conversations this morning, I have, probably 20 pages of notes and several ideas. And it's one of the things that I find enormously stimulating about coming to a conference like this. People, with a commitment to a discipline and a function and an opportunity that they all see, and different ideas and takes on what we're all trying to get done in our parts of the world. And I love to, the idea generation, and I get an enormous amount of value out of that. So I wanted to just take, maybe another minute of intro before I get into the rest of what I want to try to share with you. And just say a few words about my company in case you're not so familiar with us. Some of you would know the name Dell. We now go by Dell Technologies, so we've expanded ourselves. We started in the basic PC world some 35 years ago. Not bad for a corporate to last that long in these worlds. And we added lots of other things to that over time. We're now 7 different companies, which would include VMware. You'd probably be familiar with that on the technology side. RSA on the security side. And classic Dell EMC, which is a combination of EMC, the storage company, and Dell previously for infrastructure. So we're about a 90 billion plus company now, 150,000 employees globally, selling in about 185 countries. So I've been around about 22 years at Dell. I didn't plan to stay that long, but it's been a fantastic, enjoyable journey for me. I've had a range of experiences starting in corporate communications when I came to the company, all the way to supply chain, back to quality, customer experience, and some strategic functions, and now for about, 8 years in a content function, right? So that's a little bit about me and the history of our company. Let's go ahead and go to the next, or I've got the slide changer, so I will give myself that instruction. What I wanted to talk to you about a little bit is our journey in making Acrolinx as a tool and an opportunity, really, real in our company. And we're still, I would say, we've been working on this since 2013. And I would say if you, put us on a journey, beginning and destination, we're still in the front end of the journey, even after 6 years. The opportunity is enormous, and the speakers that have come before me have had a lot of terrific things to say about the size of the opportunity, the complexity of it, and that's all true at a company of this size. But I think it's, even if you're a company of 5 or 10, the size of the opportunity for you and the complexity of what you're dealing with is very similar to the things that larger companies are dealing with. So I hope that in this talk you'll find something that resonates for you and the world that you live in every day. That's at least my commitment, so I will try to deliver on that. Here's the basic agenda. I kind of want to talk with you about where we are and what we're trying to do. And I'll try to get through that fairly quickly. And then I want to spend a little bit of time on the mistakes that we've made. And we've made a lot of mistakes, and we're still making mistakes. And, in today's world, it's about learning all the time. And you hear it in the coding world, fail fast, or in the web world, or the hyperscaler world, fail fast, fail quick, learn a lot. All that applies to what we're doing here, too. It's in Stuart's world, that's fairly consequential, on the policy side and the things that they're doing there. But it's also consequential for every business when you make a mistake relative to your content. and it's out in the world, that can be really problematic for your company and for you. So still, nonetheless, we're human, and we're going to make mistakes, individually and collectively, and that's just part of the process. And then I want to wrap up by saying what we're going to try to do in 2020 in this area, some of the things that are critical to us, and just give you a flavor for those. So I'll start out with our kind of vision and our mission, because this is overall what is driving us. And I'll say we came to this overall vision and mission, from talking to many people around our industry, talking to partners like Acrolinx, SDL, and other partners to learn what's going on, not just in the tech industry. Of course, that's where we live and do our work every day, but in other industries, pharma, financial, travel, hospitality. All these industries have something to teach us. And so through this, and the idea of a COE really came from my colleagues at IBM. I think they've paved the way for lots of us in the world around content and the things that matter to customers. You heard from James earlier some of the mistakes that they've made and things that they learned from. And so I won't take credit as an original idea, but what I've tried to do here with this is take ideas that had some resonance and apply them in my context. So this is what we're really about. I think you've had a chance to read the slide, and it kind of guides us in what we're trying to do. Now, how do we do that? How do we deliver on that? So what we're trying to do, and I may talk, some of the points I'll give you now may be on later slides too, so I'll try to, dedupe on those slides and not give them to you twice. But really what we've come to learn, I think, is the best way for us to add some value here as a COE and to make this work in a large company like ours is to provide a set of content standards and kind of offer that as a platform, if you will, like a software platform or a web-based platform. And then have a set of tools that enables all of that for us and for others. And then figure out, and you heard this in some of the other talks, how to make that make sense for other people. I think Stuart did a great job of sort of explaining or articulating that you got to go find the people. It's just like finding your customers and selling something to them. You got to find the language that they hear. And it may not be the language you're speaking to them. You got to find the value that they care about. And that's really what we're trying to do here, is find the value that people all over the company care about. And there's a lot of overlap in those values. And from some of the other talks, we've learned that the silos obscure that. But once you start talking to them and you tell them, hey, about the folks in this other part of the company, they're dealing with the same problems, that, all that starts to resonate. And just in some of the conversations we have, those are silo busting, if you will, or at least they start to erode the silos a little bit. We're going to do some cross-domain collaboration on content standards, and we're actually in the middle of this. Andre Pellet, who's a member of my team and spoke at the conference in Boston, really talked about that. We're doing some ground level up conversations around what standards are, what they should be, what they should be for certain kind of contents, and how then we want to actually measure those standards. So I think that's, let's see if there's, I think I've probably talked to all of those. This is the way we're going to get that done. We're, in our company, and yours may be different, and will be different depending on your size. The notion of a council, some kind of a coordinating body that will work together around a set of problems, opportunities, challenges, is the way we kind of get things done across our company. So we're going to create some councils around this sort of thing. And we'll have some councils around standards. Where we're working right now is in technical information, which, out of a company like ours is, 50, 60, 70% of what the company generates and the way our business gets done. And terminology too, easily said, really tough to do well at scale. Really easily said, well and quickly grasped, but people are very, very passionate about what they call things, and those things matter to them. So how do you find something, a set of terms that everybody can agree on, so your customers don't get the, what is it? I saw the term the other day, word salad. So they don't get the word salad from your company. They get something that's a little bit more like a beautiful plate. So get the standards developed. As I said, we're starting with technical content first, and we're going to move to the marketing world later. One thing that occurred to me, I think, and one of the places that we're trying to integrate in the marketing team first, and I think this is I think it's got some momentum to it, is around the whole taxonomy world. So taxonomy, ontologies, terms, SEO, content. From my perspective, you can't build ontologies and taxonomies without the marketing sales component to that. You'll have an incomplete solution. So I think that's a great way for us to begin to integrate the marketing teams in at our company as we move this forward. And so that's one of the places we're gonna work. One of the other things I've seen with this kind of service and that we've considered is, how do you actually deliver it? Do you create the capability and then let people come to the watering tank and sort of self-serve? Or do you put it out there? Do you try to manage it all centrally, or do you do something in between? We're doing a bit of something in between. We think the right way at our company is to create a centralized capability and then try to tailor it to people's needs. There's some basic things that we feel like should be done in one place. The acquisition of the technology, the management of the platform, the program, the vendor management, the procurement of that, the offering it throughout the company, the connections into all the various content creation platforms, some central resources, people, human beings to manage all that, and to consult with people on the application of the tools in their environment, and to set up the profiles for them. All of those things we think should be done centrally. The things that need to be done within the various content groups is they need to figure out what matters to them and how they're going to apply this in their content creation cycles. And then they need to figure out how they're going to govern the use of all of this within their cycles. We're going to provide them the data and the analytics relative to that, but how they actually implement it really belongs with them. We don't think that they should have to figure out how to modify a set of rules inside Acrolinx to suit them. That's now you're duplicating that capability all over the company, and that's just not a good use of resource. We also have a sharing model. Right now, I'm providing all the human beings, and others who are using the service are basically paying for the service, the software. And that's the way we're working it right now, and I think that's reasonably scalable for us. We'll learn more as we continue to grow. I'm not going to take you through the whole slide, but this is the kind of set of services. We call it a managed service. And this is what people can expect from my team, down the list here. And when we go sit down to talk with them, and we'll start with proofs of concepts for people when they haven't heard of something like standards or a tool like Acrolinx, or automating their content, or at least having to deal with 10,000 pieces of content and not enough people to deal with that. And we say, well, listen, here's one of the places you can optimize. You can make yourselves more productive. You're never going to get enough money to go hire the people to deal with this content quality thing you're trying to deal with, or standards. This tool will do it. We'll go do proof of concept for them. We'll take a big corpus of data and scan it for them and send it back to them and show what it looks like. Do term harvesting for them so they can see the benefits. So we'll put a lot of upfront consulting work into it as part of the sales cycle. This part of my organization is really like we've got a business development function, we got a pipeline, a heat map, we got a sales capability. Sometimes they ask me to come and assist in that sales, but they're very capable with respect to that. Then we got an operations function. Once you got the sale, ka-ching, how do you turn it into real value? How do you not screw it up so they don't want to throw you out? It's like I was an entrepreneur earlier in my career, so I probably apply a lot of the entrepreneurial concepts to that, really business management. Because if you are trying to do what we're trying to do here, or something akin to it, you really are selling the possibility, the capability, and the delivery. So that's how we deal with all of that, and this is a range of the things that we do. Now, inside our company, these are the groups that are formally using this platform that I've talked to you about fully. R&D is in my area, so information design and development is classic tech comms. We do that for about 80 billion of the 90 billion dollars of Dell's products. Basically, it's not VMware and not RSA on the tech comm side. So that's what goes on in R&D, and I'll talk to you a little bit more about how we want to expand it out of my area. And a lot of the mistakes were made in R&D first. My basic approach was, if we're going to try to sell this outside of R&D, we need to take ourselves as the learning case. And if we're going to mess it up a bunch, let's mess it up within our own team. It can stay in our own walls. We can learn here before we start venturing out. And that's proved to be fairly useful. Education Services was our first customer. The other piece of my job is translation. We actually started doing translation work for them. And out of their beginning to kind of trust us in what we did there, then we started talking to them about this capability, so they got interested. Services is where we are now. We have a big project running with services. We're about to kick off letting our, 20,000 agents worldwide in all kinds of languages start creating content. And Acrolinx is going to be the tool that sort of gets that up to an acceptable level, first to be consumed within our support functions and looked at and validated, but ultimately most of that content will find its way out in a knowledge base to our customers. And so the platform that we've created and that we're talking about here is going to become very valid there. I've learned from our colleagues at HP in this area. They're really ahead of us. Fulvio will know this a bit. The guy who's running knowledge management at our company, Ron Plourde, I don't know if you knew Ron Fulvio or not, but Ron is now with Dell, and so we're running a knowledge management strategy at our company as well. So we have quite a large set of work going on, standards, quality, taxonomy, and other things that you might expect for a big company like ours to go get after. And then online quality got interested. We've been dealing with a lot of quality problems, like really, I think we all deal with this in some way, shape, or form at different scales, but if you got a piece of content that's supposed to be on your site, accessible to your customers, but it's not there, so you got a broken link, that's a quality issue. That's a different kind of quality issue, right? So these guys have done some fantastic automation for us to begin to look at, content all over. So, is everything present? Customers can find it, and that's a whole other problem, our modern day 21st century problem. But if they can find it, is it actually there? Will the link work? If they do find it, is it actually the right content? So do we have the right piece of content linked to the link? If it should be in another language other than English, is it in that other language or not? Sadly, too often not. So the online quality guys have dealt with this quite a lot, but they've gotten very interested because in the actual generation of HTML content in our marketing sites, our commerce engine, and support as well. So I think they are beginning to use the product. It's more in a POC in that area, but I think they'll take it up. So those are our stakeholders. Now let's talk about some of the lessons learned. So back in 2013, I got a great deal on Acrolinx. It was the end of quarter for them and a good timing for me, and the sales guy made a good sale and I took it. I think I bought 90 licenses, and that looked pretty simple. The promise looked right on. I understood that. We had, 100 and so people at that point. I bought 90 licenses, which I thought covered most of them, and this thing with length of sentence and structure and grammar, spelling, punctuation, all that stuff that, at that time was where our interests were. This capability could take care of that. So that's the simple part. Then it started to look complicated. Well, how do I actually get it to all those people? And when the people got involved, they're like, I'm sorry, now I've become the eye in the sky, big brother, the corporate state, whatever you want to call it. I've now become the enemy, not the friend of my own team. And so it started to look quite complicated with respect to that. And then I started to understand a little bit more about what it took to implement Acrolinx, and it got just a little bit more complicated. We had one server at that time, hosted by a third party. We started digging into, well, how do you connect this into my content development system? Okay, it's got to run in, at that time it was kind of a sidebar. Okay, what does that do to the performance of my system? Again, this is all in the R&D context. Okay, it's slowing it down. That was more on us, not the tool. But still it looked like the tool because that was the thing that changed, right? So yeah, it's that tool. I don't want to deal with that. Makes my UI crash regularly. So essentially I had 90 licenses that pretty much for most, I bought that in September of 2013. For most of the rest of that year and all of 2014, I basically had no use. So I got a good deal, and I was really happy I got a good deal, but I had no use of the tool, so it really wasn't paying off. I had zero ROI. All right, so I figured, I had to begin to tell a story to the people who were going to use this in a way that it made sense to them. And it looked like a help to them, not a hindrance, because you know how you are about that. I know how I am about that. If somebody's going to help me and it looks like a bigger problem, thank you very much. Shake your hand, I'll smile to you, but that'll be the end of it because I'm not going to mess up what is already a complicated process. So part of what I learned, and a lot of the mistakes we made were basically well-intentioned ideas on my part, which were really somewhat uninformed. I really will not put this mostly on my team. I'll put it mostly on me because I was, leading the overall effort of conceiving of this. Most of these mistakes are my mistakes. But one of the things I realized is I needed some dedicated people around the tool itself and how it worked. In 2015, I put a person in place. I took them out of another job, talked to them about this one, said, I'd like you to come do this. It was a person who had editorial experience, so they knew all the problems of dealing with content across a large group of people. So I thought, that's probably the right person, really bright, very articulate, pretty good people person. So I was trying to knock down all my prior problems with, and they'd been a content developer in our area, so I thought, okay, people will relate. And most of that was true, but still the kind of eye in the sky thing was a problem, and still some problems around the flags that the tool threw up relative to what my style guide said. The style guide now becomes really important here. And as the tool threw up flags relative to the style guide, there was a lot of incoherence. How did that happen? I asked myself and I asked my other team. Well, okay, so we hired a consultant, a third party then, to talk to us about that. And we spent a lot of time talking to the Acrolinx team. And as I said, most of this was probably my mistake and really not fully understanding how this tool needed to be implemented, one, how it worked, how it needed to be tuned for certain things, and then how to get it adopted, right? So we did some other stuff here with consultants. We spent a lot of time talking to them about that, how to get the responsiveness up, how to keep things from crashing, for people, how to modify the rule set so that it could be consistent with my style guide, largely speaking, and so that that took us quite a long ways, but it still wasn't enough to really get us, where I wanted to be, the opportunity versus the reality, still a very large gap. So what happened in 2017? We bought EMC, and so big sigh, nothing's going to happen. September 7th of 2016 was day one of the integration, and everybody was consumed with what happens after day one, including me, right? My job changed, my scope changed, fortunately for me, for the better, but all of this project just went on the hold. Right, so and it was really the only practical thing to do, and life is like that sometimes. That for all of us, whether it's something like this or something more practical, someone gets sick, or you got to cut your budget for a while, or because the company overall is not doing well, or something else. Things disrupt your plans. 2018, we've gotten back on staff. Back on track. We've added more staff. We've expanded some of the groups that we're talking about there. We took a lot of the learnings from 2013 up through 2017 and have applied them now. And I'm happy to say we have the stakeholders that we have, and I think a good track forward, from all of that. Let me just check my time. How am I doing?
5 minutes?
Yep. Okay. 2019 is just continuing to go forward. We've spoken a lot with our colleagues at VMware, Laura Bellamy specifically. Has been a great help to us. We've collaborated quite a lot with them and learned quite a lot from the VMware team. And then this is what we're up to in 2020. So, one of the things in talking to, all the groups that were on the slide earlier as stakeholders and talking to other groups as well, it turns out one of the really foundational problems in our company is no one has one single source of truth about what our product names are. No one. And worse yet, in the support world, they'll mix code names with product names, or they'll just use the code name because they don't have a clue, because that's how it all gets, through the development of the product. It's code name, and then suddenly it's product name, but they've never been told or they don't remember, and it's not easily accessible what the product name is. So you just get code names, 14G servers, or whatever, the current transformer's name is, or mountainside or lake, or you can make it up and there it is. So with the help of Acrolinx terminology, we're going to provide for the entire company a single source of product names. And we're going to give them a code name to product name reference. And that sounds really, really simple. But sometimes, and this is one of the learnings, some of the most powerful things are really, really, really simple and really valuable, right? So, in the R&D area, we want to start working on a set of standards for our software UI content, and then start using, our platform and Acrolinx, a tool to begin scanning all that stuff. That's all done with human eyes right now, and that's not scalable. It's pretty manual, checking in and out of code repositories and the like. So what we really want to do is go to the code repositories, Git or BitLocker, whatever the people are using. And get right in there with an API and scan that stuff and pull out the analytics and then do the work to fix it. And we want to do that same kind of API integration across the rest of the corpuses of content that people have. Salesforce on the support side is what we would have there, different homegrown CMSs in the online world and so forth. So we want to do a little bit more work around personas, so tuning our standards and our content to not just IT, CIO, or procurement person, but if you have someone in let's just say a 50-person business, they're probably doing 2 or 3 jobs, one of which includes IT. How do you kind of get your content tuned for that human being? And then the other thing that we want to work on is connecting the content standards measurement to other real valuable KPIs in the company. CSAT, product NPS, SRs, failure rates basically in the support environment. Eventually when we get in the marketing side, we want to lead generation, and lead closure, things like that. So that'll be the journey that we work ourselves through in 2020. So with that, I'll stop, and maybe we have time for a couple of questions. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Gerald. Denis.